Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jesse, and today I'm compiling a big guide on how to get out of a reading slump. I'm making this video both for you and for myself. I wanted a place that I could come back to where I could remind myself how to get out of a reading slump when I get in one. I haven't been in a slump for a second. Knock on wood. Going to knock a hole in my bookshelf. When you're in the thick of it, it's hard to remember how to get out of it or how to get through it. So I thought it'd be nice to create a guide on how to get out of a reading slump. Before we get into it though, today's video has a sponsor. Today's video is being sponsored by Bookfinity. If you don't know anything about Bookfinity, let me fill you in. Essentially, on Bookfinity, you're able to take a quiz that has varying questions, and through these questions, it will reveal to you your reader type. It will both reveal your reader type and attack you with how accurate it is. It will have you judge a book by its cover, which is honestly one of my favorite things to do. If you're not going to the bookstore in your free time and judging books by their covers, I highly recommend it. It's a fun little get out of the house activity, even if it does put you in a not so safe place, aka the bookstore, where you could possibly spend all your money. It will ask you what your ideal Friday night looks like, your go-to binge shows, it'll have you pick a movie you most like, your favorite superhero, and it will take all that information that it collects in the quiz and it will reveal to you your reader type. They have a wide range of reader types. I've taken it twice and I've gotten different results, which I take that as meaning I've just gone through some character growth over here. There are reader types like modern romantic, time traveler, bookworm. I've yet to get the bookworm title, the bookworm type, but that's my goal. I want to get the bookworm type at some point. Someday I'll bear the official title of bookworm. The ones that I've gotten though are subject matter and young at heart. Both of these results attacked me and revealed so much not only about my reading life, but also just about my life in general. The quiz is one of my favorite parts about Bookfinity, so I will leave a link down below in the description to Bookfinity. Go take the quiz and then come back and tell me your reader type in the comments. But then beyond that, once you get your reader type, Bookfinity will start giving you book recommendations based off your type. It's a great way to find new books that you might not have heard before and also just get solid book recommendations that you're more than likely to enjoy, especially just because it takes into account your reader type. Every element of your reader type, it takes that, generates book recommendations, and sends them back to you. A book rec a day keeps the doctor away. Anyway, thank you to Bookfinity for sponsoring today's video. You can find out more information on them down below in the description. Go take the quiz, come back and tell me your reader type down below in the comments. I put together a list of things that I think are helpful, and then I went over on my Instagram at jessethereader if you want to follow me, and asked you guys to submit how you get out of reading slumps, and so I'm going to be going over some of those. But there were a lot of overlap submissions of things that I had already thought of, so I'm going to be sharing some of the methods that you guys came up with that do not overlap with my list. First up, before we really get into it, I want to remind all of us that a reading slump is just another word for burnout. There comes a time with everything in your life where you reach that kind of burnout stage, and there's no reason to freak out over it. I feel like in the reading community, we all make such a big deal about reading slumps, like it's the end of the world, and like, I get it. It can be annoying when it happens, especially because you don't know how long it's going to last. It could be a week, it could be a few days, it could be a full month, it could be a couple years, and of course, that can be a nightmare. We all want to tackle our TBRs, and the more time we spend away from reading, the more that our TBR piles stack up and get longer and longer. I get it, but I also think it's good to not stress over it and to just realize that it's okay. It happens, it'll pass, and you'll eventually get back to books. Though I say that, and it's an easier said than done situation. So if freaking out and stressing out helps you cope, then freak out and stress out. If you watch this and you have any other methods that you use to get out of a reading slump, feel free to drop it in the comments, and I will try to compile some of these submissions in the comments in the description down below. Let's dive into my notes. There are some cliche points here that I feel like are things you've probably seen before, but again, I just wanted to make a master list of ways to get out of a reading slump. Let's get started. First up, take a little reading rest. Listen, I know it's easier said than done, but just don't read for a little bit. Sometimes riding out the wave will just lead you back to books. Like, you'll eventually get that craving for a book and you will go ham on a book. You will read the heck out of it. Stop beating yourself up over not reading. Stop picking up books and getting frustrated with yourself because you can't stick it. And ultimately, be kind to yourself. I feel like sometimes pushing yourself or forcing yourself to read when a slump is occurring can have a negative impact depending on the outcome of that push. Like, it could kind of backfire and make the slump worse. I am definitely talking from experience here, just so you know. I have been there and I have done that, and I did not like that. Again, burnout happens in almost every area of our lives. It's normal, and you will eventually regain that excitement for stories again. In fact, sometimes taking a break from reading will just have you appreciating the act of reading that much more. It gives you a chance to just kind of like take a step back and realize how beautiful it is to read. I'm being so cheesy, but I'm just being real. chill, okay? Next up, reread a favorite book. I know rereading books isn't ideal because it's like, hello, I've got hella new books that I need to get to. But rereading a favorite book can remind you why you love reading. And because you know you love that book, having that positive experience of rereading it can start the itch to get you back into the reading grind. Next is to read a book that feels or is similar to your favorite book. I feel like this is a good thing to tackle if you do choose that reread a favorite book method, because you can reread the favorite book and then immediately go into something that feels familiar to your favorite book, and that will just like bring you comfort and bring you excitement because you're coming right out of that high of the reread, and it feels like a good idea to kind of maintain that comfortable reading experience. Stepping out of that comfort zone too quickly could mess you up, could jack things up, whether it be reading another book by the author who wrote your favorite book, or finding your favorite book on one of those if you like this then read this recommendations list. I just feel like reading something that's new but also still feels familiar is a good step to take in moving forward. Next, change up the book format that you're used to reading. I swear by this one. I feel like anytime I have that feeling where it feels like a slump is coming, it's mostly because I've just been reading from the same format and kind of in this routine of comfortability of same, and I just need to change up. I just need to switcheroo, and sometimes that comes with just changing up the format. So if I've only been reading from one specific format, say I've just been reading a bunch of physical books, then I should try an audiobook. I should try an ebook. I should try mixing and matching formats, an audiobook with an ebook, an audiobook with a physical book. I know that audiobooks and ebooks can be very expensive, but if you have access to a library, a lot of libraries offer a system where you can rent ebooks and you can rent audiobooks through an app, and you'd be surprised by the amount of amazing books that you can find in your library's catalog. At least my library, like, they are on top of it. They've got lots of popular releases, and I am forever grateful for them. What would I do without my local library? Like, bless them. Bless them. Next is to read outside your go-to genre. This kind of ties into the last point. It's easy to get into the spot where you are just reading the same thing over and over again. Like, for me, the past couple of years has been contemporary fiction. Like, I have just been nonstop reading contemporary fiction, and sometimes doing that where you're just reading the same thing over and over again, that flood of sameness can sometimes just affect the entirety of your reading life. Where was I going with that? I don't know what I was going, I'm not sure where I was going with that. But basically, it's like that saying, like, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. Is that how the saying goes? And sometimes slumps occur because things have gotten stale. Your reading chips have gotten stale and you need to throw them out and open up a new bag of reading chips. I'm also gonna say bringing in a book with a new style or a new format that you're not used to will also kind of just like freshen up your reading life a bit. So maybe a book written in verse, a graphic novel, a comic, a web comic, a manga, a poetry book, a book with mixed media, a short story collection, just something unique and different that will bring in a bit of a change up. Something that will light up your reading torch and get you excited about reading again. Next up is to marathon read a bunch of short books. Sometimes just finishing a book can really bring back the spark. There are a lot of amazing books out there that are short and sweet and to the point and are easy to just devour within an hour or two. And I think just reading a book quickly and finishing it quickly can do wonders for your reading mindset. There's something just like so powerful about finishing a book. Like, every time I finish a book, I get a boost in energy. I feel really excited about myself. I feel like I accomplished something. Like, there are times when it makes me feel on top of the world. And marathon reading a bunch of short books will remind you of that feeling, that accomplished feeling that you feel after finishing a book. And it might ignite the reading flames inside of you and set you on fire. Figuratively, not literally. Not that I needed to point that out, but I'm pointing it out. Next is to pick up a book that you know will be fast-paced. A slow-paced book during a reading slump will only push you farther and farther back into the reading slump, and you need something that you can make a lot of progress in every time you sit down to read. Something slow will only push you 5 steps back, and we are looking to make 5 steps forward, bestie. Keep on trekking on. Next is to read a book that's been adapted. The reason I think that this can be helpful is because it's like a reward. You eat the book, then you get the movie that may or may not be like a dessert, depending on how it's adapted, and if it's accurate, and if it's good. If it's a mess, then oops. In that case, I was not the one to tell you to do this. It can be nice though, like having that mindset as you're reading the book to like have something to look forward to. Again, it's that kind of like reward situation. Like, you're gonna get a reward after you read the book. I love rewards. I love little treats. Ooh, maybe that's a good idea. Try out like a little like reading treat chart situation where like if you read a certain amount of pages, you get a little treat. I love treats. I like that idea, but like, I'm not putting it down as an actual point because it's kind of silly. But it might work for you. Okay, dear God. Next up is to take on a reading challenge. Whether it be a readathon, a TBR game, a TBR jar, or a long-term reading challenge, sometimes you just need something like that that will motivate you. I feel like a readathon can be really helpful so long as you don't go into it putting a lot of pressure on yourself, but with readathons, there's so many other people participating that just feeling that energy of all these other readers going after a goal, going after a reading goal, will also ignite some excitement within you and have you wanting to pick up books and be reading. It's just like surrounding yourself with that energy. And TBR games can just be a nice way to like refresh your reading life a bit. Bookish challenges can just bring in some uniqueness and excitement into your reading game. So things like reading around the world, where you're reading from authors from around the world, or a book bingo type situation. These things can all just help you stay motivated, and it just brings a bit of fun to reading, and it also brings community as well. Next, reorganize your bookshelf. I know this one sounds silly, but hear me out, okay? Sometimes just refreshing your book collection can remind you of books that you've been wanting to read, or it can also just make you look at books in a different way. Like sometimes just like having your bookshelves organized the same way can make them dull, can make them boring. And sometimes just coming in and like freshening up your books can just make you see them differently and make you want to pick up a book and read it. I know it sounds so stupid. Just try it, okay? If it doesn't work, then don't tell me. There's nothing wrong with having it be an option. And if you reorganize them and nothing happens, you don't feel that burning fire within you to pick up a book, your bookshelves probably needed to be reorganized anyway, so bite me. The last point on my list before I get to the ones that you guys submitted is to consume bookish content that will inspire you to read. I'm not just saying this to like get you guys to binge watch my videos, even though I would love it if you binge watched my videos because YouTube's algorithm hates me these days. But watching other people be excited about books can be infectious and get you wanting to read again. So whether that be book talk, bookstagram, I was gonna say book Twitter, but like I don't like Twitter, so I mean if you like book Twitter, then book Twitter, booktube, these are all platforms where you can be inspired to read. Get excited about reading again. Okay, now I'm gonna be going over tips that you guys submitted over on my Instagram. Some of them were so unserious, like this one that just said suffer. I mean, I agree, sometimes you just have to suffer. Gavin's killed me, burning your entire collection so you don't have to read again. Sounds very effective, honestly, might be a good idea. Okay, but back to some seriousness. We've got reading fanfic. This actually could be a very solid idea, especially fanfiction surrounding your favorite forms of media. So whether that be obviously a book you read and loved, like you want to read fanfiction about that book, I'm sure you could find some. But then you've got things like your favorite movie or your favorite anime, your favorite shows. And I feel like I often hear that people just like fly through fanfiction. Like it's just so fun and so addictive, which honestly might have you falling into the hole of fanfiction and having a hard time getting out, and might hold you back from actually reading books on your TBR. But like there's nothing wrong with falling into the fanfiction hole. I support it. This is one that I wasn't expecting, but I do think it can work for some people depending on your mindset, because obviously we all process things differently and we all approach things differently. But there were people saying to just force yourself to read and don't wait for motivation, force yourself. And if you're able to do this, like get it, bestie. I personally am not this way. Like I need a break from things. I need that time to just like be away from something and then get that flame burning again to go back to it. But this is something that can work for some people, just like forcing yourself to do the activity that you want to avoid. If anybody knows how I can be that way, I would actually love to be that way, but I am not that way. So I love the idea of this one, and that is to just find a new reading location. This honestly sounds like it could be really helpful, just kind of like breaking out of the norm, breaking out of your routine, whether that be just like changing the position in your house or actually getting out of your house, like going to a cafe, being in nature, at a park, read at a library or a bookstore. I love the sound of this one, and as somebody who likes change and like enjoys kind of spicing things up, I feel like this would be very nice for me, work really well for me. So noted. I like the idea of this one too. Go to the library, get a load of books out, and try them and see which one grabs you. Sometimes we think we're in a slump and we're not really in a slump. It's like the books that we're reading, like we need to be DNFing books more often. And this is an easy and free way to like basically go book shopping. Like you can go book shopping at the library, pick out some new books, try out some new things, and see what grabs you. A+ recommendation. Finally, the last one that I pulled is to read a popular book. That way you're excited about it and we'll get back on track. Yes, I love this idea. This is a solid plan, especially because typically when a popular book is out, there's so much excitement surrounding the book and there's so many people talking about that book. So it brings in the excitement, it brings in the community, and sometimes having that sort of communal experience around a book can be really helpful because you have people to discuss it with, you have the book constantly being shared in your feed, and seeing content about it will just like have you wanting to continue reading it. So I'm definitely all for this as well. That is it for my master list on how to get out of a reading slump. Let me know down down below in the comments if you guys have any other suggestions, or if there was a point that I made that you've used in the past that you swear by, definitely let us know about it down below in the comments. Again, thank you to Bookfinity for sponsoring today's video. Find out more information down below in the description, and also let me know which reader type you got in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye.